Welcome to another episode of Israeli Frenemies, broadcasting the beautiful city of Tel Aviv, Israel, right here on ILTV. We get the left and the right together, bash out the most heated subjects of the week. Our guest host this week, Ariv Oppenheimer.
Hi, Ari. Great to be here again.
Great to have you here. And we got a lot of things to talk about, so let's get right to it.
So, Ari, this week the government made a decision to create an official ceremony to celebrate 50 years of settlements in the West Bank, in the Golan Heights as well. And there was a big dispute over this event. And I think the major issue was the decision of the Supreme Court, the head of the Supreme Court, Judge Miriam Naor, to say to order all other Supreme Court judges not to come and to be there. What do you make of it? Do you think it's a political decision by the Supreme Court? Is it? I think it's it's the obvious thing to do, but I guess that you have a different opinion.
Right. Well, of course you think it's the obvious thing to do because you come from a left-wing organization, which exactly proves the point that the decision was political. Now, the problem with the Supreme Court is the following: the Supreme Court is a judicial branch of the government, and the Knesset, we have the legislative branch. Now, in terms of deciding,
the Supreme Court is a branch of the government.
It's the judicial branch,
no,
not
it's
of the
totally,
government.
It should be totally independent.
We have the judicial branch and the legislative branch. In terms of defining what is a national ceremony, that is only the legislative branch. It's only the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, has the power to say this is a national ceremony. And there's what's done in the country is when that happens, you invite all the first grade, in terms of first row people in the country, which includes the president of the Supreme Court. Now, she decided not to go. And again, this was a purely political issue. It's problematic. It's undemocratic.
I have to ask you, if tomorrow morning there will be a left-wing government and they will make the decision to create a big ceremony over the issue, an official one, over the issue of the Oslo Accord or even the disengagement, do you think that we should obligate the judges to come and to attend because the government made it official? I think the government tried to actually create like a drill and to show the people of Israel that there is a consensus behind the settlements. But you know that this is the most controversial issue among Israelis in the Israeli society. So you cannot take a stand and say this is the official position and now everyone needs to come and to salute to this opinion.
Well, let me just clarify some facts for you. The consensus is done by election. That's 11 years. You're a left-wing camp.
One second. This is the majority.
Okay. So the government is a right-wing government. That was the elected government. They decided to have a ceremony, for 50 years of Jews coming back to Judea and Samaria in Gush Etzion, which was before 48. One second. And there were left-wingers at the ceremony. There were right-wingers. There was secular. There was religious. So again, say that it was a political issue. Well, the Labor Party was there. So
no one from Labor Party.
Let me just explain something. 1 second. So Miriam Naor, the head of the Supreme Court, she has no business defining what is defined by the Knesset. It's not in her democratic power to do so.
She's not obligated to obey every order of the government.
So that is a good point.
And if tomorrow morning the government will decide that the illegal outposts deserve the ceremony, an official one, so she has to go there. Anything that the government will make the decision that this is the official. So we are all need to attend because we are getting an order for that.
So the answer is very simple.
Is it North Korea here?
No, come on. The answer is very simple. In Israel, we have something called a practice. For example, the Supreme Court, the President of the Supreme Court, is picked by seniority. That is in the same camp of practice as when there's a...
Yeah, but you cannot abuse the practice.
One second. That is the same camp of practice that when there's a national ceremony, you're supposed to go and show up.
But you abuse
If the President of the Supreme Court can say, I'm going to go against that practice, she can't get upset when someone else goes against the practice also. And to your answer, by the way, yes, no right-wing judge, if there was any, ever in the history of Israel said, I'm not going to that place. However, I will tell you that this same president of the Supreme Court, by the way, went to a left-wing conference, and she went to Jerusalem Day.
But can I tell you something?
One second. In Jerusalem Day, by the way, which is, again, It's the same occupation according to the
It's
left.
a bit different because we annexed the East Jerusalem, and it's also controversial. But can I tell you something honestly? You know, I don't think the only reason that she didn't come was that it's a disputable issue. I think it's deeper than that. I think that the Supreme Court in Israel judges, they know that they cannot attend a ceremony that is being held in an occupied land that is unrecognized by the international law. I'm telling you, eventually the Supreme Court judges feel that they are part of the bigger community, the international community of judges, of human rights, of values that contradict the occupation.
Well, this is your mistake.
And they don't want to show themselves sitting in the heart of an occupied land, controlled by the army, not by the government.
So I understand your claims, but they're completely...
I'm telling you honestly,
I understand what you think.
She will not say it, but I think this is the reason.
I understand what you think, but it's completely fabricated. Also, she never mentioned anything like that. But besides the point, no. Israel's Supreme Court, its first loyalty is to Israel. That's where the first loyalty is. So your idea of universal...
It doesn't contradict, you know. You can be loyal to Israel and to be against the occupation.
No, that's undemocratic. The first order of the Supreme Court is to abide by Israeli law, not international one. Your statement is undemocratic.
The Supreme Court judges broke the law when they didn't come there?
No,
didn't come there?
That's right. Supreme Court...
No, this is not a criminal law, you know.
Listen, Supreme Court judges broke the practice in Israel.
Because the practice was abused by the government.
No, there was no abuse. What was abuse?
Abuse because when you are making something, an official event, but it's totally political, controversial among the Israelis. It's not the Independence Day, it's not Memorial Day. It's about the settlements, the most debatable issue in the Israeli society. It was about the settlements, all of the settlements, not just Gush Etzion.
No, it was about Gush Etzion.
No, that's not true.
Yariv, the title was Settlement of Gush Etzion.
No, that's not true.
Which, by the way, I was right outside this. I was there. I
saw the invitation. It's about the whole settlements, including Hebron, including Tapuach, everything.
Gush Etzion is part of Hebron.
It was located in Gush Etzion, but the whole issue was about all the settlements.
Historically, by the way, just to let you know, I'm sure you know this, historically, Gush Etzion was settled by Jews long before 48. And the state, by the way, Ben-Gurion, who's a left-wing...
The Israeli law is being enforced in the Gush Etzion.
Hold on, the state itself, Ben-Gurion himself, Mr. Left-Winger himself, the reason that Yom HaZikaron, Memorial Day, comes the day before the Independence Day was because he said...
One question for you.
No, let me finish. Was because he said that when the Jews liberated Gush Etzion, that gave the way to liberating
Officially, Gush Etzion is part of the state of Israel today.
Absolutely.
But we never annex it. Why we never annex it? Why Netanyahu is not annexing the Gush Etzion area? Because there are Palestinians living there, you know?
You said the answer. Gush Etzion is part of the state of Israel. The government of Israel made a national ceremony, and according to the
practice... But never annexed it. You ignore the fact, you know? It's not the same like Tel Aviv, you know.
But we're not talking about annexing. You're jumping to something else.
If it's part of the country, if it's part of the state...
But you're deflecting the information. We're not talking about annexing. It's part of the state of Israel, and it was made a national ceremony, and the practice in Israel is that all first-grade dignitaries come to the ceremony.
Yeah, but they didn't.
She has no
they didn't show up. Not only her, you know.
The Supreme Court, again, if you're a political party, it's one thing. She is not a political party.
She
it is undemocratic.
Obligated.
She basically crossed the legislative branch.
If you are abusing the practice, you are not obligated to come. But I have another issue to ask you about.
I just have to clear something else. Yeah. She does not have the democratic power to define to the Knesset how they're abusing making a ceremony.
Of course she does.
She absolutely does not. She has no touch on the legislative branch.
She is independent. You know, she is not obligated to the political level.
She is 100% obligated by the political movement.
And I have to ask you, you know, we're talking about her so long, but what about the Palestinians living in this area? You know that the settlers are only 10%.
This week, Israel saw another hideous crime, another hideous terrorist attack by the Palestinians on 3 Israeli security guards, one actually being an Arab, in the city of, or in the town of Har Adar, which is around 500 meters north of Jerusalem. But this was not just a regular attack. The Muslim who attacked was a 37-year-old husband, father of four, who had work permits from Israel. He was working a family's home in that town for years before, and this past week he used his work permit, including the magnetic card, which gives him a fast track to go through any checkpoints, in order to murder in a horrific terrorist attack 3 security guards, one Magav, one Israeli IDF Border Patrol policeman, from point blank, shot 10 bullets and murdered those 3, put another Israeli man in critical condition. In terms of what I think about this, I think that this proves one very, very clear thing, that there was no financial issue for this man to do it. There was no occupation for this man to do it. He was very friendly with the family in the town. This was, as I've claimed for many years, the fabricated national claim of the Arabs by the name Palestinians, which they justify time and time again, the murder of Jews and non-Jews, by the way, and Arabs, in fact, as well, against Israel. And it's truly sickening that they continue to murder and justify with this fabricated national claim called Palestinian.
I agree with you that this is a crime and this is a terrorist attack, and I condemn it totally. But after condemning it, we need to see how we can stop it in the future. And just say that it's awful will not be enough. I'm telling you that there are reasons for what he did. And one of the reasons that he worked for the settlers living in Haradar. Haradar is not just a town, it's a settlement.
Haradar is a left-wing settlement.
Yeah, but
They're
it's still a
settlement.
And his job was not to be, walking next to the Israelis, but walking under the Israelis, as cleaning the houses of the, just let me finish, as cleaning the houses of the Israelis. And this is exactly the coexistence. This is what people like to say, coexistence. The coexistence is that Israel is on top and the Palestinian is in the bottom. And the Palestinians need to walk in the house of the Israelis to clean it, and they have no rights, they cannot vote, they have no future, and eventually this is what is happening when the situation is like that.
So
we can condemn it, but it will not stop the next terrorist
So for all those watching around the world, in case you are a house helper, please don't murder people.
If you don't have rights, if you don't have political rights.
In your world, a person cleaning a house, cleaning a house should be so insulted to point blank shoot 10 bullets and murder 3 people in your world.
I will answer. If you don't have any other choice, if your community is being under control, if this is the best thing that you can achieve,
what rights does he have?
The settlement.
What rights doesn't he have? Tell me.
The right to vote.
Okay, so
freedom of movement.
By the way, all you Mexicans who are not American citizens, please don't murder people in the United States of America.
And the right to be part of a state and to have freedom of movement, to have economic.
He had freedom of movement. He had a magnetic card, total freedom of movement.
Only in the West Bank. He, by the way,
he's not Israeli.
Yeah. Okay. So what is he?
Hold on.
What is he? If he's not a Palestinian, he's not an Israeli. He's nothing. This is why he's doing what he's doing.
Let's make order here. Okay. What you're saying is he's not Israeli, but he should have freedom to go wherever he wants, even though he's not Israeli.
No, in Palestine,
let me finish. Hold on. I want to get your claims.
Yeah.
First, you claim because he's working under the Israelis, cleaning their houses. That's a terrible thing.
This is the best he can get,
And therefore, he murdered people. Then I said, no. He doesn't have rights.
Part of the
then
reason.
I said, what rights doesn't he have? He can't vote. And I said, because he can't vote, you can murder people?
He is not part of a state,
Of course he's not part of a state. They never had it.
Yeah,
1 second. Hold on. Again, I just want to understand. Any of those statements, you justify the murder with any of those statements?
No, don't go there. I am going. I started by saying that I'm not justifying it.
For the reasons,
but condemning it's not enough.
I have a question. For any of the reasons you just gave, is that a reason to murder?
No.
Okay, so
but this is the result. The murder is the result of the situation. How come the Israeli?
Is it a normal result?
Let me tell you something. How come the Israeli Arabs, that are more than 20% of the population of the state of Israel, we are talking about more than 1 million people.
Okay.
How come just really a few of them is working against Israel in a terrorist attack? There are Muslims as well.
Incorrect. The latest poll.
No.
The latest poll.
No, I'm not talking about polls. I'm talking about facts.
80% of Israeli Arabs
I'm talking about
asked,
facts.
Yariv, 80% of Israeli Arabs asked that they were for the continual stabbing of Jews. You're falsifying.
I'm asking about facts. How come they are not doing it? You know why? Because they are part of...
Would you like me to read off?
No,
hold on.
No.
January 2007, 3 stabbing attacks.
It's nothing if you compare to 1 million.
I have a
It's
whole
still nothing. I can give you a list of settlers that made crimes. It will be longer. But I'm telling you, it's nothing if you compare it to 1 million.
There have been 184 stabbing attacks, 129 attempting stabbing attacks, 161 shooting Arabs, 60 effective attacks, and 80%...
These are Palestinians living in the West Bank. You made my point.
80% of the Israeli Arabs asked that they were for the attacks.
You are playing to my point, because what you are saying, this I don't know this poll 80% support. I know facts.
If I show it to you, will you admit it?
I know facts, and the facts are that
Yes.
20% of the Israeli public is Palestinian, Muslim, speaking Arabic,
they're Israeli Arabs.
living.
No,
They are calling themselves
they're
Palestinian.
Israeli Arabs.
They are not doing it.
No,
You know why?
they are doing it.
Let
What
me
do you mean
finish.
they're doing
You
it?
know why they are not doing it?
Why?
Because they have rights.
So what
because
about
they are
okay.
part of the
All right, so let me-
state of Israel. They have chance to be
Okay.
something in their life,
Gotcha.
not just to clean house of settlers.
That's terrible. Sorry,
Yeah, but this is the reality. This is the reality. This is what we are having in the West Bank.
Sifta Bar in Tel Aviv, Israeli Arab opened fire on innocent people.
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Today,
One
they
out of
caught-
million.
Today they caught 2 Israeli.
Two.
So what?
You
One
know,
second,
there are
one
settlers
second.
that made
Hold
crimes.
on,
You know
hold
Baruch
on.
Goldstein.
Yeah,
You know
wait for me?
people that killed
Name
them.
him, Baruch Goldstein, go.
Yeah, I can tell you about
Give me name one, go.
Muhammad Abu Khdir, who
Two.
killed people killed
Not
him.
a settler. Not a settler.
No, he was.
No, he was not.
But
Two.
a Jewish one.
Two, go.
And all the people that
Two.
made
Stop. Two. Name 'em.
price tag. All the people that made price
Name the names.
Yigal Amir, Pami Popper.
You got
There are
stop.
many.
Yigal
Believe
Amir,
me.
Stop. Yigal
Believe me,
Amir,
there are many.
You are lying. Yigal Amir is not a
A
settler.
right-wing.
He's not a settler.
right-wing
2 people
activist,
so
you
far.
know.
Name one. 2 people.
Ari, there are
Name 'em.
much more. And by
No.
the way, we are not in the
No,
same
no, no.
situation.
We are in.
But still, you know, the comparison is not about the Israelis and the
It
Jewish. It's about the
absolute-
Israeli Arabs and about the Palestinians living in the West Bank.
You-
And when you see the facts, you understand that the reason why the Palestinians in the West Bank are attacking us is that because they are living under occupation.
So then
You are
okay.
ready to pay that price? That's
are you
fine.
done?
But this is the price.
So tell me, why did the Bezek guy who's making money inside Israel stab and shoot people?
Because he was not a citizen.
He's an Israeli citizen.
No,
He
he's
worked for
Jerusalem.
100%.
Learn the facts.
How come the
Learn
guys-
the facts.
how come
The
the
Bezek
Israeli-
guy.
how come- yeah.
The Bezek guy was an East Jerusalem guy
Does
that
he have
has no
rights?
right to vote. No.
Does he- And this week we saw the world go bankrupt once again when they allowed the PA, the Palestinian Authority, and their security people, their henchmen, to join Interpol. Interpol is the international powers that are supposed to be taking care of international terrorism, and they've actually brought in the cat to watch the milk. You know what? I thought this is actually very funny. I could imagine them coming into the office, looking on Google, and everyone said, "Oh, there I am." And the next terrorist goes, "Oh, look me up too." This is totally ludicrous. But again, I want to say one thing, by the way. I'm not upset with the world for doing this, because you know who started this? You know who started giving legitimacy to terrorists?
Let me guess. The left wing in Israel, yeah?
You, man. You
Yeah,
know why?
of course.
And I'm
We are the blame for
And I'm going
everything.
to explain why. In 1993, the left, in their insanity and their idiocy, gave guns to an arch-terrorist named Yasser Arafat.
Yeah, because
once
before
they-
that it was so
because they
quiet
were-
here. It
You
was
understand?
heaven, you know.
So I
People
love it.
never
So
got
you
killed by
can't-
terrorists. It was
so you
quiet. No
can't make
first intifada.
Yarif, first of all, there are statistics. 10 years after Oslo, more people were murdered than 30 years of occupation before. So yes, it was relatively more quiet before your peace process, where you gave Yasser Arafat guns.
Let me remind you
gave a
that the peace
terrorist
process
guns.
was stopped also by the right-wing
Again,
political leader named
no, I'm
Netanyahu,
talking-
by Yigal Amir and others. But let me talk about the Interpol.
No.
Why no? You don't want to talk about the issue?
I'm not going to allow you to say false things.
But you stopped terror, Oslo. You're so proud
when
of that.
Yitzhak Rabin was prime minister, not Netanyahu. More people being murdered in the
That's not
streets
true. The
after
people got
30,
killed after the
30,
second
I have the
Intifada
numbers.
was started.
30% rise in terrorism after the Oslo Accords compared to 10 years before. You are fabricating facts.
But let me tell you about the Interpol. You know, I heard Netanyahu saying that all the world support Israel, and he went this big trip over five continents in order to show that the world support Israel. Eventually, this was a confidential say, a vote. It was a secret. You don't know who voted for whom. And you see that 77% of the states decided that Palestinians should have their own state. It was about the two states. Because if they are a state, they should be part of the Interpol.
Why do you fabricate
and you know,
things?
this is
Yarif,
when you are driving.
that wasn't the vote.
You are driving.
That wasn't the vote.
When you are driving and you see all the cars coming in front of you, so there is an option that you are going the wrong way and they are going the right way.
Right.
And this is actually what's going on. Israel is going there, but all the world is coming in front of us.
Reality check. Reality check, please.
Reality check, please.
It wasn't a vote for the state of Palestine.
It was related for
It
that,
was
you know.
not related to it. It's related to allowing them to get into the security.
Actually, as a state, it's another symbol of a state.
Again, why are you there was no clause of the state in there. Why are you making up things?
Because this was the outcome of that.
You're giving your opinion.
What was about? It was not political?
No, it was about,
only security?
Again, it was security measures. I think it was a ridiculous decision. But again, I'll say
political decision.
Again, I'll say you started this. When you give terrorists guns, when you give terrorists guns, you make believe you're bringing peace. Then Interpol brings the terrorists
was
in.
before, and what the government tried to do when we were in power is to try to end the conflict.
You give guns to Yasser Arafat?
He had guns before, you know. When he was in Lebanon, in Tunis, he was armed, you know.
So let's give Hezbollah more weapons because they have it already.
No, but let's have peace with Jordan. Let's have peace with Egypt. And the peace with Jordan came after the Oslo Agreement. And you know what? You stopped the Oslo Agreement. And maybe if we will continue the Oslo process and having two states, it will be like Israel and Egypt, Israel and Jordan.
Switzerland.
Not Switzerland, but a new Middle East. But you stop it.
One small problem.
You destroy Oslo. And now you destroy it and you say, oh no, we have terror. You destroy it.
One tiny problem. Number one, you didn't deal with the fact that you gave Arafat guns. You completely ignored that. Number two is...
He had guns before.
So you give him more?
This is not the issue about guns.
It's the issue.
And you know the Palestinian Authority has guns. The Palestinian Authority has guns. I have a question for you.
No.
Palestinian Authority has today guns.
You got to answer my question.
The Palestinian Authority today is helping the Israeli security forces in order to stop terrorist attack. Netanyahu said it.
So again, can I ask you a question? You think it was a smart idea to give Yasser Arafat guns?
Yeah, I think it was. Let me answer.
Yes.
I think it was smart, but it was smart. It wasn't smart to stop the Oslo process and not to lead to a two-state solution.
Were the guns pointed at Israel?
Because you know that Yasser Arafat and also the Palestinian Authority today. Also a terrorist, a leader and a terrorist.
Or was he a peaceful man?
But today we have Abbas, and Abbas is getting guns from Israel. You know that we are still supplying guns to Abbas?
It's a terrible thing.
But he is helping us to stop terror. He's doing more to stop terror than you.
Yariv, first, that's not true.
This is the
23 years of IDF. 23 years of IDF.
You as an idea, you know.
No. You can't throw idiotic things out. 23 years of anti-terror.
I was in the army as well.
Where were you in the army?
Yeah, I was in the West Bank for
What unit were you in?
Everywhere.
Okay, stop talking.
I was all around the West Bank.
Anti-terror unit for 23 years.
I was guarding settlements out.
What unit were you in?
Jordan Valley unit.
What unit were you in?
Nahal it was.
Okay, so do me a favor. Do me a favor, okay?
Bottom line, I'm telling you that today Abbas is working against terror more than the settlers.
Could we go back? That's not true. That's not true.
Because you are encouraging terror when you're doing this price tag and this violent against settlements. Against Palestinians.
It's very funny when you lie and you talk over me.
It's not a lie. What a lie.
The settlements have the highest rate of guys to go into the highest units.
Yeah,
you are
they're
lying.
doing price
You are
tag.
Spreading libels about Jews.
When you are expansion settlements,
when
you are taking out Palestinian family out of their houses in East Jerusalem, this is the best incitement. You are giving a prize to terror because Palestinians see it on television and they are feel bad and they have nothing to lose because of you. Because you are taking the land and you are doing whatever you like in the West Bank.
So this coming Sabbath, we will be celebrating the holiest day of the Jewish year, Yom Kippur holiday, where in the past, when the temples were built, the entire nation went to the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, and the high priest did ceremonies after ceremony to receive forgiveness for the whole Jewish nation. It was a day that was actually one of the happiest days, and even in Israel, secular religious doesn't matter. The streets are pretty much empty. Over 90% of the Jewish population in Israel does keep their traditions. So I want to wish everyone out there in Israel and overseas have an easy fast and a meaningful day. And
I join you with that. And you know, there is a dispute in Israel about whether we are a Jewish state or not. And you don't need any laws to know that we are a Jewish state. If you will come to Israel and you will see Yom Kippur, the secular, the religious, you'll see something that you cannot see any other place in the world. People that are really treating this day in a different way. And I feel in this whole a month of the Jewish holidays that this is a Jewish state. We don't need laws. We don't need to enforce it. We just need to feel it and to be here. And
with that, we want to wish everyone a wonderful weekend and an easy fast and a meaningful day. And thank you for tuning in. You're here on ILTV in Israel, your Frenemies. Please share it out on your social media platforms. God bless from Tel Aviv, Israel.